control. So why bring the EU in after the war when it exists? It has largely been moved forward after the Cold War to effectively try and keep Europe under some form of control, and it's not working. The whole of Europe now knows that, and European citizens in different parts of Europe will be laughing at this decision.
So that's Tariq Ali commenting on the announcement today, or it could have been yesterday, that the Nobel Peace Prize Committee is awarding the EU, the European Union, the artificial person, which is, I think, one of the most important points of this, with the Nobel Peace Prize, citing a few details, including the assertion that the EU played the most significant role in rebuilding Europe after World War II. And so what we have here is we have an excellent man, a completely excellent man on the real. This fool, I would love to sit down and have lunch with this fool. My treat. Great guy, hardcore. I've seen videos from him like 30 years ago. Shoot, maybe even longer than that. So, so I think his reaction of laughable is symptomatic of a man in his position that has been engaged in this struggle for so long and seen so little positive change. Because what he says is laughable, I think is critical. And I think going on with the theme of my own personal blog, Soul Race, my blogger, and my poetry, that you can find some of it here. I have some of it here, and also on Poem Hunter. But the ongoing theme that I'm in right now is that genocide, genocide is active for the most part in Western civilization 24/7. There's not really a time the West is not engaged in at least 2 to 3 fucking genocides. That's just the way it is. They pick people and they get this fixation with. It's like each one is like an experiment to see how far they can succeed and what works the best. That's kind of the way I see it. And though it's not necessarily studied like that, I think it develops like that. And they don't have a class that you can go to how to fucking do a genocide. Although they should. Because if they did, people would be able to see a genocide coming, as opposed to have to wait to react to a genocide, like pre-crime stuff. But using the common human brain's ability to critically think and analyze not just data, but human interaction and behavior. Anyways, so he says it's laughable. I say it's critical. There's a reason we do things. People do not do things spontaneous. Even bad people do things because they think it through for the most part in their head. That's what imagination is. They might not be able to express it, or they might not want to express it because of other conflicting issues inside their, pathological, sociopathic, schizophrenic brain. If only they had ADD, they could probably organize this stuff. But unfortunately, these people don't have ADD. So they're stuck with a brain that can only think of pretty much one thing at a time. And they're on one right now. So what does it mean to me that the EU is awarded the Nobel Peace Prize? It means world, please, world. The criticism that this guy, Tariq, puts against the EU are 100% crazy legitimate, and he knows it. from, but he didn't even mention Libya, but he doesn't have to. I'm not saying he's hiding anything. This fool can't say everything because he knows it all. And it's just like, what does he pick? What do I pick from? You know? Okay, I'll pick from Afghanistan. That's pretty common. Okay. Um, I'll pick from rendition. He, bring from Extraordinary Rendition, which was an American program that even targeted European citizens. That's the relationship between the European citizens that were targeted and the practice of lynching in the United States are closely connected. Okay? Very closely connected. Because what you see an exertion of the full force of society against targeted people. Okay? From the lynching. You had the preacher, the pastor, the cop, the judge, the mayor, the mechanic, the mechanic's assistant, the altar boy, or whatever they have for in the Southern Baptist kind of thing. You had the women, you had the moms, the nurses, you had doctors, you had lawyers, you had the whole shindig up in there when they were hunting down them black fools, and when they were stringing them up, and when they were hanging them to break their neck, and then when they were setting their body on fire, and then when they celebrated, which most people don't realize, the common practice of a lynching was to afterwards celebrate because they saw it as a victory against a bad thing. So it was not a big deal for them to have a barbecue afterwards. And then it was also extremely common for these wonderful, esteemed figures of a society who at the same time were probably together represented the ideals that were governing the country at that time and the perception of how to deal with people that we viewed as negatory. Cold War, enter Cold War. So my thing is this. The EU is engaging with some really bad stuff, including Libya and the over 30,000 people that died in order to get Gaddafi and bring the chaotic stuff, which, and interesting too, we actually introduced lynching to African continent now because of the propaganda machine that we use to try to stir resentment towards Gaddafi and his forces. We threw out there false intelligence saying that Gaddafi had hired a bunch of black Africans, because Libya is an Arab African nation, and that these black Africans were hired by Gaddafi to kill Libyans because the Libyans didn't want to kill him. That was the initial thing that was going on. Now the crux of that whole thing, and I want you to understand, the European Union, this is the European Union doing this, participating in this program of misinformation in order to stir resentment against an opposition, because anything is justified. And in the process, including America's involved in this too, but the EU is equally right there. France was the one leading the main charge in Libya too. That's very important to remember. Germany did want to sit that one out, but ultimately, without even twisting their arm, Germany produced bombs from them when they ran out of bombs. So anyways, they start this campaign, this media campaign. Well, it turns out that Libya happens to be one of the few countries in the planet under Gaddafi that provided some kind of sanctuary to black African immigrants who were trying to get to Europe in order, because of the economic oppression that Europe had, that the French still control a lot of fucking Africa. So these fools are trying to get to Europe in order to alleviate the economic pressure that their country's under because of Europe, and then the Europeans, not just the governments, but the Europeans viciously hunt them down the same way the Chinese hunt down the North Koreans and the Americans hunt down the Mexicans. And the same way both those other Chinese and the United States send the people they catch back to horrific situations North Korea, I don't gotta say anything about, but since nobody gives a rat's ass about Mexicans, it's important to realize that Mexico has experienced over 80,000 deaths in the last 6 years because of this psychopathic, racist driven, genocidal war on drugs that the American government has used in order to expedite the decline of the American population. And that includes increasing deportation to record levels and now enforcing a part of immigration in which a child born in the United States is physically, by the laws of the land, because it's so righteous, stripped from the parents. And there's over, I've been saying 70 to 80,000, but actually I have to stand corrected. It's anywhere from 5 to 7,000 American-born kids that their parents are considered illegal aliens, not refugees, and therefore being sent back to this place where the United Nations said is the most, last year said was the most dangerous place outside of a war zone on the planet. Okay, granted that was before Syria kicked off, but Syria's a war zone now. So anyways, so this is kind of what the EU. So my thing is, the EU is not doing this for some sun in the game or fun in the sun kind of stuff. The EU is active. Tariq sees, he's tidying off how active it is. And the catch is, it does not plan on taking a break. Despite the chaotic situation, it does not plan on stalling at all. That's why austerities are there. They don't give a rat's ass what's going on. They have an agenda, people. Can we understand they have an agenda? Is it so hard to believe that a government that is transitional, transmigratory, so to speak, with the people that are inside of it, for it to have a consistent agenda over an extended period of time? Can we not look at the British Empire? So my whole point is, yeah, it's a dangerous sign that the European Union, as such a vicious organization, can become a symbol of peace. You understand what I'm saying? If they are the standard of peace, then what is acceptable warfare? If what they're doing is the standard of peace, then what can we do in order to make peace? How much further can we go? Because, you know, hey, like Obama said in his Nobel Peace Prize, King and Gandhi, they had great ideals, but they couldn't lead a country, even though they changed countries against the entire system, including the people. Obama cites they can't lead countries, and the EU thinks the same. And there's some dangerous times coming up, man. Dangerous, dangerous times coming up. And unless, you know, we just gotta get crazy. You gotta get crazy. You gotta be able to say the craziest shit possible, and it's not gonna make any sense to anybody, because who in the hell is going to believe me that the European Union is gearing up for some type of genocidal or slave, which is still genocidal to me, enslavement thing somewhere on the planet, if they're not already engaged in it? Because they're covering up imagery right now. And when you cover up imagery, think Hitler. Think Hitler. The grander this cover up, the grander the presentation of the ideal and stuff like that, the more atrocious the crime. I swear to everybody on the planet. If anybody watches this, don't share it with anybody else. Make a completely different one that you can try to get somebody else to watch at least one time, and talk like this to other people. You have to, not like this, but I mean, talk in an aggressively assertive, hell no, I am not denying reality kind of way. It's gonna hurt, and it's not gonna make any sense, because the truth is that people believe this because they are completely foreign to any truth. So they will never believe the truth even if you told it to them. That is a stupid determination to try to get somebody. It's like me trying to get a Chinese person to understand English just because I'm like, now what? Listen to what I'm saying. It doesn't make any sense. Okay? So don't try to make sense. Try to pull the human strings, and it's gonna get emotional. That's gonna get a little bit dirty. But if we don't do it, I'm telling you, some bad shit's happening right now.